Welcome to the Pokepaint, a new way to create your own digital type Pokemon. That's right, whatever you paint becomes real. Let's look at what Billy painted here. What did you paint, Billy? Pokemon. I can't believe this is my freaking life. Alright, let's go to the next drawing. Timothy from Goldenrod, what did you paint? Another Pokemon. Okay, why are you f***ing kidding me? Jackson from Melee Melee, what do you have? I'm done. What is going on, guys? This is Dobbs here, bringing you another Pokemon video. And in this video, I'm gonna go over 10 new possible types that we might see in Pokemon. And as a little bonus, I got 10 Fakemon commissioned for each type, so hope you guys are excited about that. And yeah, with that said— Wait! Yeah, Mini-Me? Are we friends? Yeah? Do you like dragons? You're about to do a sponsor. Then you should play Friends and Dragons, a free-to-play strategy-based mobile RPG game. Is that it? No, because you don't get it. This is like Pokemon, but for me. Because you can literally collect up to 150 heroes and upgrade them and give them cool items to increase their power. Oh, so it's like original 150 instead of 151. Yeah, shut up, didn't ask. This is my favorite hero, Chandra. She's literally a support paladin orc, and I kind of have a crush on her. Okay. But I'm telling you, man, this game is unique. Just look at the gameplay. It's like Fire Emblem, chess, and Pokemon combined. It's insanely fun. You know what? That does look like a lot of fun. And as an avid RPG player myself, I guess I would have a blast playing this. Yeah, and what's awesome is that you can create or join guilds, and I'm in one myself. I haven't asked Chandra to join yet, but if you want to join, it's called Dobbs Nation. No space. Oh, that's pretty cool. I'll join right now, and whoever's watching this should join too. And it looks like Friends and Dragons have their own Discord server, so you can find guild members pretty easily on there. No way. I wonder if Chandra's in there. Yeah, anyways, y'all should definitely download Friends and Dragons because for a limited time, they're doing an event called Chase the Dragon where new players can receive a valuable 4-star summoning scroll. And that's a pretty high level for a summon. Just use the link down below or scan the QR code right here. And of course, big shout out to Friends and Dragons for sponsoring this video. I really appreciate it. So yeah, with that said, let's get started with the video. Alright, the first type that I would just love to see in Pokemon is the Wood type. Because Pokemon has the Ground and Rock type, so why not do something similar with the Grass type and have a Wood type? And just like with Ground and Rock, the Wood type would share similar strengths and weaknesses with the Grass type, but it would provide some niche coverages in certain areas, which would be pretty fun. And I also think out of all the types on this list, the Wood type is the most deserving because, as you probably know, the 4 basic elements we see in North America are fire, earth, water, and air. But in the Asian countries, there are actually 5 elements, with 2 of them being different. They have fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. And in Pokemon, we already have the steel typing, so the wood would just slide in perfectly with those elements. And so for the strengths and weaknesses, I think the Wood type would be strong against ground, water, and fighting. Ground and water because trees break through the ground in order to grow, and as they're growing, they're absorbing water. And for fighting, have you ever tried punching a tree? Yeah, it'd probably hurt a lot. And as for the weaknesses, I think it'd be weak to poison, ice, fire, and steel. And steel because, well, we chop wood with metal axes. And also in the Chinese cycle of elements, it is said that fire melts metal, metal chops wood, wood separates the earth, earth absorbs water, and water puts out fire. So it all fits together just perfectly. And we already have a lot of Pokemon that would fit in the wood category, like Executor, Nuzleaf, Trevenant, and even Sudowoodo. And yes, I do know Sudowoodo shouldn't be a grass type, but it is petrified wood, so it'd be a rock wood type, which would be pretty awesome. And along with that, here are the moves that would be wood type, the best ones being Woodhammer and Branch Poke, and finally the Fakemon, which I named Bristirama, which is a combination of the bristlecone pine tree, which is one of the longest lived life forms on Earth, and also Hashirama from Naruto, who is a shinobi that specializes in wood style jutsu. And I think Bristirama would be a wood fighting type Pokemon with the ability Wooden Dummy, which would give it a 50% chance of avoiding an attack when under 10% HP. And as for his signature move, I gave it Wooden Fist, which is basically the same as the move Double Kick, but with wooden fists. So yeah, I think the wood typing would be great in Pokemon, and I would love to see it in the future, and probably my favorite one from this list. Okay, the next type I would like to see in Pokemon is the Undead type. Yes, we need zombies in Pokemon. And you've probably seen this 100 times, but in the Pokemon Adventures manga, zombies actually exist. In the Cypher Psyduck chapter, it is shown that there are multiple zombie Pokemon just chilling at the Lavender Tower. There's a zombie Psyduck, Tangela, Lickitung, Slowpoke, and there's even a zombie Slowbro. So maybe these Pokemon would keep one of their typings, but then just add on the Undead type. Kind of like in Alolan form, they're just given a new typing because they're undead, which would be a pretty cool concept. Now, for the strengths and weaknesses, I think the undead type would be super effective against normal and psychic. Normal because usually in zombie movies, it's the undead humans versus the normal humans, and usually the zombies have the upper hand. And psychic because even if you're a genius, if you're infected by a zombie, you're going to become a brainless being, so intelligence really has no advantage. As for the weaknesses, I think undead Pokemon should be weak to fire, fighting, and steel, and I think those are pretty self-explanatory. And in addition to that, I think the undead would have a lot of resistances and immunities. So for the resistances, I put they would be resistant to ice, dark, and ghost. Ice and dark because zombies seem to not care about the cold climates or dark areas. They just keep walking along like nothing is bothering them. And ghost because they are soulless creatures, so they can't be possessed nor scared from a ghostly Pokemon. And for their immunities, I think they would be immune to poison because they're basically already poisoned by whatever that zombified them. They can't be poisoned even further. For already existing Pokemon that I think that would be undead, I put Parasect, Cofagrigus, Glittering Corsola, and Cursula. And my favorite one out of the bunch is definitely the Parasect because it's the closest thing we have to a zombie Pokemon right now, since the mushroom on Parasect's back has taken over as the host and is essentially controlling a dead body. And as for Glittering Corsola and Cursula, I think they would be a ghost and an undead type because it's essentially a dead body being possessed by their own ghost. For the moves, I think Belch, Gastro Acid, Gunk Shot, Infestation, and Bone Rush would all be solid choices for undead attacks. They all just have that zombie feel, especially Belch, because zombies do be always throwing up on you. And finally, for the Fakemon, I thought a Hyena zombie Pokemon would be awesome. So here's Hyembi, which is honestly my favorite Fakemon I got commissioned for this list. Its typing would be undead, of course, and I gave it the ability Rotten Flesh, which makes the Pokemon immune to status conditions. And originally, I was going to have all undead Pokemon be immune to status conditions because they're zombies. They don't care if they're burnt, paralyzed, or frozen, they just keep chugging along hunting for brains. But I thought it'd be a bit too broken, so I just turned it into an ability. And we would probably see this ability on a lot of zombie Pokemon. And as for the move, I gave it Munch, which is basically Crunch, but the user uses Rotten Fangs and has a chance of lowering the target's evasion. Because usually after a zombie bites you, you're pretty much done and have little to no evasion. So yeah, the undead type would be awesome in Pokemon. And even though it already exists in the manga, maybe we'll see it in the mainstream Pokemon games one day. Now, if we're ever going to get a new type in Pokemon, it's probably going to be the Rubber type. I don't know why, but I can just see Game Freak implementing this typing because of how unique it is. Now, the properties of Rubber is all about resistance. It is not only strong, but it is flexible. So I think the Rubber type would consist of Pokemon with high defense and HP, but would probably have a lackluster special defense stat. So it's basically a poor man's Steel type. But just like with ground and rock type Pokemon, the Rubber type would cover matchups that Steel types couldn't. Like the Fighting type, for example, which is one of the strengths that I gave it. And speaking of which, for the strengths, I think it would be strong against Electric, Fighting, and Water. Electric because Rubber is a fantastic insulator, which means that electricity can't travel through it. And for fighting, well, it's just like punching a punching bag. When you punch a Rubber Pokemon, they're probably just gonna fling back at you unaffected. Kind of like SpongeBob from that one episode with the bully. For its weaknesses, I think it'll be weak to poison, fire, and ice. Poison because acid corrodes Rubber pretty effectively. And of course for fire and ice, they're pretty self-explanatory. I also think Rubber would have a ton of resistances, just like with the Steel type. It would resist ground, fighting, fairy, rock, and steel. Ground because it takes Rubber materials a long time to decompose. Fairy because I would imagine magic not being very effective against rubbery things. And rock, steel, and fighting because they're all pretty physical typings, so punching a rubbery Pokemon will just recoil at you. And also as a Rubber Pokemon, you probably could just wrap around them. Oh, and also it would definitely be immune to electric type Pokemon because of how good of an insulator it is. Now, speaking of recoil damage, I think Wobbuffet would be the greatest example of a Rubber type Pokemon because it has immense HP with a very defensive moveset. And along with that, of course, the Jigglypuff line would definitely be Rubber type because they're literally balloon Pokemon. And also that beta design of the balloon Pokemon, if that ever came to fruition. Now, for the Fakemon, this is definitely one of my favorites as well. We have Ducky, which is based on the classic looking Rubber Ducky. Of course, it would be a Rubber Water type Pokemon, and I gave it the ability Squeak, which makes all opposing Pokemon target it for one turn after it enters the battle. And for a signature move, I gave it Elastic Armor, which is a move where the Pokemon expands its body, sharply raising its defense stat. So yeah, this is a type that I totally expect seeing in Pokemon, and maybe we'll get a cool evolution out of it. Y'all should definitely tweet me some cool fan art at Ethan Dobbs for all these types. Another type that I would love to see in Pokemon is the Monster type. And heck, we are already one step in the door of getting this type because there is, after all, a monster egg group. And I think the monster type will consist of fantasy Pokemon like goblins, trolls, cyclops, and even hydras. And when I think of the monster type, I think of a normal type Pokemon that is essentially enhanced. It's like an upgrade, if you will. And so for the strengths and weaknesses, I think the monster type would be the new dragon type in town, with only one advantage of being super effective against other monster type Pokemon. And for his weakness, it would be of course weak to monsters and also fairy type Pokemon, because usually in fantasies, the magical fairies have the upper hand against creatures like goblins and trolls. So I thought that'd be essentially its only weakness besides itself. I also gave it 2 resistances. I think it's resistant to normal and dark, because like I said earlier, I see monsters as an upgraded version of a normal Pokemon. So of course they're going to have the upper hand against their weaker counterpart. And dark because in Japanese, the dark type is the evil type, and monsters are generally pretty evil. So I think they would either be resistant or just neutral with dark types. As for the already existing Pokemon, I had a lot of fun with these picks, especially Lapras, because it is based on the Loch Ness Monster. So I think it would probably be a water monster type. And another one I really liked was Electabuzz, because Electabuzz is based on a horned ogre that wears the skin of a tiger, which is also known as an Oni in Japanese. So I think Electabuzz would fit perfectly with the monster typing, being an electric monster type. For the moves, a lot of them just fell perfectly with the monster flavor, like Growl, Mega Punch, Outrage, and even Horn Drill, which just seemed like an epic monster type attack. And for the Fakemon, I really wanted a Gargoyle Pokemon because I just love the Gargoyle statues that are placed on top of Gothic architecture. So we have here Gargoyer, which is a combination of the words Gargoyle and Monster. Its typing would be Monster Rock because it is a statue after all, and it would have the ability Hover, which would give it full immunity to all ground type attacks, which would be really handy given that it's a rock type Pokemon. And for a signature move, I just thought the already existing move Glare would be perfect for a Gargoyle Pokemon because they really be hovering over you on buildings glaring at you. So yeah, if we don't get a monster type, can we please at least get a Gargoyle Pokemon? They really are one of my favorite mythological creatures. Next up, we have the Magic type, and I think this type will split up the abundance of Psychic type Pokemon and moves and make them a little bit more unique, especially with the legendaries and mythicals that are given the Psychic type when there are no other types that really fit them. And a great example of this will be Solgaleo, because Solgaleo is literally based on alchemy, and that seems a lot more like magic than psychic. And with the Magic type, instead of Pokemon relying on their mind, they would rely on their mana, or in the Pokemon world, it would be their aura, and really tie together the whole concept of Aura Guardians. Now, with their strengths and weaknesses, I think Magic Pokemon will be strong against Fire, Water, Electric, and other Magic type Pokemon. Fire, Water, and Electric because as a magical Pokemon, they could just simply use their opponent's respective element against them. And Magic because usually magical creatures fight one another, where it would be light versus dark magic or just a simple duel with spells. And along with being weak to magic, I think they would also be weak to dark, ghosts, and fairy. Dark because usually dark magic, aka evil magic, is stronger than normal magic because there's no restraints to what the user can do. Ghost because, well, look at the Harry Potter series. The wizards are unable to interact magically with the ghosts. And if you read the books, you can see how annoying this would be because there's a ghost named Peeves that just trolls everybody for the fun of it. And they really can't do anything about him. And fairy because maybe fairy magic would be superior to regular magic. This one I just kind of threw in there to make it more balanced. As for the Pokemon, there would be a ton of magic types, and the majority of them were psychic Pokemon, like Hatterene, who is literally known as the Forest Witch, and also Delphox, which is supposedly a witch as well. And there would also be a ton of moves that would fall under the magic umbrella, like Light Screen, Reflect, Cosmic Power, Heal Block, Magic Room, Magic Powder. The list just goes on and on. And finally, for the Fakemon, I wanted a Pokemon based on the statue I've had since probably before I was even born. It's just a book statue of a dog looking at a kid, and I don't know why, but this really resonated with me, so I wanted a Fakemon of it. So thus, the Fakemon Spark was born. And the name I gave it is pretty cool as well because it's a combination of the words spell and bark. And like we know, dogs do bark, and the wand is made from a tree bark. So I'm really proud of the name. For its signature ability, I thought the already existing Magic Guard ability would do, which makes it where the Pokemon only takes damage from attacks. And for its signature move, I gave it Elemental Nova, which is where the user attacks everything around it by releasing a magical wave of fire, water, grass, and electric spells, with the targets chosen randomly. So it's basically a magical surf tri-attack. So yeah, I really love this concept, and I would love to see the Magic type in Pokemon. It'd probably be one of my favorite types. I think it would just fit in really well. Alright, another type I can see happening in Pokemon is the digital type, because, you know, technically we have the Porygon line, which is a Pokemon entirely made of code, and really shouldn't exist outside of a computer. And just like with the Porygon line, the digital type consists of Pokemon that were created in the digital world, whether it be by a virus, a coding error, or intentionally made by humans. This type could offer some really interesting looking Pokemon. The possibilities are literally endless. And so for the strengths and weaknesses, I think the digital type would be strong against Steel and Psychic. Steel because computers are made of metal and computer programs roll over these machines. And Psychic because artificial intelligence surpasses intelligence. And I'm sure you've seen or read a story where an AI takes over the world. For its weaknesses, I think it'd be weak to Bug, Water, and Electric. Bug because it's a play on the word virus, which are rampant in the digital world. Water because if you spill water on your computer, the software is going to get fried. And Electric because without electricity, software wouldn't be able to operate. So it kind of rolls over digital Pokemon. I also gave it a resistance and an immunity. For the resistance, I think it should resist Fairy because old magic cannot overpower modern technology. And for its immunity, I thought it'd be fun for it to be immune to fire because of the firewalls on computers, which is another play on the words. For the Pokemon, we have, of course, the Porygon line, and besides missing though, that's pretty much it. We would really need a whole new breed of Pokemon for this type to happen. For the moves, we have moves like Conversion, Lock On, and the best one in my opinion, Techno Blast. These all seem to fit the digital trait. And finally, for the Fakemon, we have Mouster, a Pokemon that's based on a computer mouse, and I love it. For its type, I think it should be a digital normal type because computer mouses exist in the physical world and in the digital world. For its ability, I gave it the right click ability, which reveals the opponent's moveset when the Pokemon enters a battle. And for its signature move, I gave it Pixel Whip, which is basically an Aqua or Dragon Tail, but with a digitalized tail. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I had a lot of fun theory crafting the digital type and Mouster. There's a lot of opportunity for flavor with this type, so it'd be fun to see in Pokemon. The next type I think would be funny to see in Pokemon is the food type, because we do have a lot of food-based Pokemon, so why not? So getting right into the strengths and weaknesses, I think the food type would be super effective against Normal, Fighting, and Dragon. Normal because if a normal Pokemon eats too much food, it would become sick or fat. Fighting because food can make a fighter waterlogged. Eating a large meal right before a fight would definitely slow down the fighter. And Dragon because out of all the typings that exist in Pokemon, Dragon and Bug are the only two typings that reference a living creature. So with that logic, dragons need food to live, therefore giving food type Pokemon the upper hand. As for its weaknesses, I think the food type would be weak to Poison, Bug, and Steel. Bug because fighting bugs in your food is pretty gross, and usually the food is thrown away after fighting them. And Steel because, well, we eat and cook food with silverware. I also think the food type would be resistant to Ice and Fire. Ice because when frozen, it lasts longer, and Fire because when cooked, it becomes tastier, so it works really well. For the Pokemon, we have, of course, Pokemon like Vanillix, Cherubi, and Alcremie, but I also think Pokemon like Farfetch and Tropius could be the food type too, because Farfetch is a pretty pathetic Pokemon and is usually only seen as food, and Tropius because they literally produce fruit on their chins, and apparently each Tropius produces different fruits and they are delicious, so you don't necessarily have to eat the entire Pokemon for it to be a food type. For the moves, we have perfect moves like Milk Drink, Soft Boil, Egg Bomb, and even Apple's signature move, Grab Apple. That could all be food type moves. And for the Fakemon, I wanted a crying baby onion Pokemon, so here's Cry, which is a super cute looking Pokemon. For its typing, I think it'd be a food grass type because it is a vegetable. For its ability, I gave it Smelly Aura, which may cause confusion when a Pokemon makes contact with it, so basically a food static ability. And for its move, I thought the already existing move Fake Tears would be perfect because a crying onion just has so much flavor to it, pun intended. So yeah, the food type would be a lot of fun to see in Pokemon, and I think my favorite Pokemon would be Farfetch because the idea of a flying food type Mon would just be hilarious. Alright, for the next one, this is a type that you've probably seen before. We have the Light type. And originally, I wanted to name this type the Holy type, so that legendary Pokemon like Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia could be given a typing that makes sense for them. But then I started to think more, and I just think the mainstream Light type name makes more sense. But I do think in Japanese, it would be known as the Holy type, to coincide with the Evil type they have for the Dark type. And for the kind of Pokemon we would see for the Light type, I think we would see angelic looking Pokemon, to really give that holy vibe I was looking for. So, for the strengths and weaknesses, I think the Light type would be strong against Dark and Ghost. Dark because usually the good beats the evil, and Ghost because it's pretty hard to create shadows with blinding light, so the Ghosts are going to have a hard time haunting these Light type Pokemon. For its weaknesses, I think it'd be weak to Dark and Ground. So while being strong against Dark, it'll also be weak to it, because sometimes, very rarely, the evil overcomes the good. And Ground because, in caves and tunnels, it's pretty hard to find a light source. And on top of that, I think the Light type would resist fighting because, as a fighter, it'd be pretty hard to hit your opponent while being blinded with light. Just think of the move Flash. For the Pokemon, we would have Pokemon like Lantern, Ampharos, and Heliolisk because they all produce some kind of light in them. Heck, Ampharos is known as a lighthouse Pokemon, so it should definitely be a light electric type. And then we have Pokemon like the Togepi line, which just has that angelic feel to them, so I thought that should be the light type as well. For the moves, we have moves like Flash, Morning Sun, Photon Geyser, Flash Cannon, and even the scrap move, Light of Ruin, which is all would fit perfectly as light type moves. And for the Fakemon, we have Eternus, which is a planet Pokemon, and is named after the words Angel and Saturn. For its type, I think it'd be a light rock type because it is a planet and most planets have some rock to them. And for its ability, I give it Gravitational Pull, which prevents all Pokemon from escaping its gravitational force. And lastly, for its move, I give it the move Ethereal Beam, which is a powerful blinding beam that has a chance of lowering the target's accuracy. And if you didn't know, the word ethereal means a light source that seems just too perfect for this world. So basically it'd be a light type Hyper Beam. So yeah, this is a pretty popular choice among the fan base, but I'm not sure if we'll ever see it come to fruition. It's possible the Fairy type already took that slot the light type would have taken. But who knows, we do have the Dark/Evil type, and you can't have Dark and Evil without Light and Good. So maybe there's still hope. The next type we have is the Fission type, and I base this type off the nuclear type from the fan-made game Pokemon Uranium, because I just really love that concept. And so for the Fission type, it would consist of Pokemon that have been in a nuclear fallout, or have been infected by some kind of hazard chemical. So while there are natural Fission type Pokemon, there could also be Pokemon that adapt to the type too, kind of like a Galarian form, but the Pokemon hung around nuclear waste. For his strengths and weaknesses, I think the Fission type would be strong against Steel, Grass, and Ground. Steel because nuclear waste can corrode through metal pretty easily, and Grass and Ground because nuclear waste can also contaminate those elements with ease, and make them forever uninhabitable. For its weakness, I think it'd be weak to Water and Rock. Water because in order to run a nuclear power plant, you need to have water to cool down the nuclear reactor, so that the entire power plant doesn't explode. And Rock because during the Chernobyl disaster, the scientists started dumping boron onto the ongoing nuclear fire in order to stop it, and boron is a mineral. I also think it resists fire because nuclear explosions basically produces a fire that's on steroids, so you can't really fight fire with this one. For the Pokemon, I couldn't really find that many that would fit because it's such a niche type, but I got a little clever with the Solosis line because technically Fission is when an atom splits into two, and that's the Solosis line's whole concept. I also threw in Victini because there's this longtime fan theory that is based on a nuclear explosion, since it has unlimited energy inside of it. For the moves, I could only come up with Double Team and Plasma Fist, and I thought that Double Team was pretty clever as well because the whole duplicating autumn concept. And for the Fakemon, this is definitely one of my favorites. We have Twitbug, which is a twitching bug that survived a nuclear fallout and has basically gone crazy. For his typing, it'd be Bug and Fission, of course, and for the ability, I give it the ability Half-Life, which splits the user's and opponent's HP in half when it enters the battle. And for his move, I thought that Leech Life would fit it perfectly since its ability is always halving its life, so it's going to need a way to restore that lost HP. So yeah, I think this type would be awesome to see in Pokemon, but I do have my doubts ever seeing it come to reality, but one can dream. And finally, for the last type, we have the Cloud type. And honestly, I thought of this type purely for the fact that I wanted a Pokemon based on the Flying Nimbus from Dragon Ball, but we'll get into the Fakemon I got commissioned later on. So to get right into the strengths and weaknesses, I think the Cloud type would be strong against Ghost and Grass. Ghost because a hovering cloud would overcome a Ghost's shadow, therefore not allowing it to form. And Grass because clouds can easily block the sunlight, making it where the plants cannot perform photosynthesis, and they need light to live. For its weakness, I think it'd be weak to Flying and Dark. Flying because clouds aren't that agile, they kind of just float. So a flyer would have a big advantage fighting a cloud Pokemon since they can swoop around it and such. And Dark because at night, it's pretty tough spotting clouds, so the darkness can overcome them. I also gave it a few resistances and an immunity because I think cloud types consist of Pokemon that are tanky and have a lot of support. So for its resistance, I think it's resistant to ice, electric, and water because clouds are able to create these elements themselves, so they can easily tank them. And for the immunity, I think it'd be immune to ground because, well, I think grounded Pokemon are going to have a hard time reaching clouds to battle. For the Pokemon, I think Pokemon like Altaria, Whimsicott, and the Genie Trio, along with Enamorus, would be great Cloud-type Pokemon. Especially the Genies, because they are literally floating on clouds. For the moves, this was very tough because the type is so niche. I could only come up with weather-affecting moves like Rain Dance, Defog, Sunny Day, and the one outlier, Cotton Guard. Game Freak would have to add a ton of cloud-like moves for this to happen. And finally, for the last Fakemon, we have Drimbus. And I imagine this would be the first evolution of a Dragon Cloud Pokemon. And this is where the inspiration for this type came from because I wanted a Pokemon based on Nimbus from Dragon Ball. So what better to make a baby dragon flying on a cloud Pokemon? And so for its ability, I think it would have the already existing Fluffy Coat ability, which has the damage from all special moves. And for its move, I give it Regidrago's signature move, Dragon Energy, which converts the Pokemon's life force into power. So Drippers will have a cloud-like ability with a Dragon signature move, which I think works perfectly with this Pokemon. So yeah, that's the final type, and this is probably the most niche one out of all of them. But nonetheless, it would still be cool to see in Pokemon. And there you go, 10 Pokemon types that you've probably never seen before. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hey, like funny things? Well, check out my latest parody video where I go over what happens inside a Pokeball. I guarantee you'll enjoy it, so click on the end card right here. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell.